Welcome back to another round of PK's PSA, plus now a word from our scriptures. These have been two-part episodes coming to you one day at a time. Part A is, of course, our pastoral service announcement, or a brief informational word or insight attempting to make some sense of this here pandemic surrounding us on a daily basis, which it seems to be forcing us into more and more every day. By now, we all know what it's called, don't we? COVID-19, coronavirus, or simply our very own public health threat. The whole planet Earth is on edge, and rightly so. But the truth is, the better informed we are, we believe the less this contagious virus spreads. And who knows, because of all of our collective efforts, one day we might get back to normal. But I'm not exactly sure what normal is these days. While the PSA is going to speak to our head, part B of our show is just a short word to hopefully speak to our heart. Sometimes circuitous, I'll admit. My mind can be described as random, but other times I can get right straight to the point of it all. These are going to be devotional moments meant to encourage your spirit, remind you of God's steadfast love for you, and maybe assist you in getting through just one day, bringing a little bit of sunshine amidst some of the doom and gloom that seems to come upon us. So let's get on with it. Today happens to be Monday, March 23rd, 2020. Time now for our pastoral service announcement from yours truly, Pastor Ken Politz, coming to you almost live from the friendly confines, pun intended there, of New Creation Church right here in little old Ottawa, Ohio. You know, I was thinking, I remember a long time ago during the summer after my first year in college, and believe it or not, I played basketball in college. Let me rephrase that. Now I had a college scholarship and all, but my first year, I barely got off the bench. That summer, I was bound and determined to change all that. So as soon as I showed up at the front door back home, I got to it. I had a jump rope, some sweats, and a bunch of pairs of sneakers, and I started running. I mean every day. I mean for miles at a time, sweating like a pig all the time, attempting to shed weight and get in better shape. And as I ran with these sweats on all the time, I did next to nothing to replenish all of that fluids that was going out of me. Stupid, I tell ya. Dumber than a box of rocks I was. I wasn't but a week or two into my summer, and I was literally down for the count, diagnosed with my own contagious virus called mononucleosis. The doctor said I'd be quarantined because it can get transmitted through saliva. Maybe, and I'm sorry to gross you out, that's why it's also known as the kissing disease. Quarantine, that's a pretty important word today. It calls for the strict isolation imposed to prevent the spread of a disease. Now, people can be quarantined even if they aren't currently sick, but may have been or may have been exposed to a communicable disease. It's all about helping to stop the spread. I wasn't self-quarantined, but I was under doctor's orders. And, well, sadly, I wasn't really good about it either, as my girlfriend, by the time I went back to college, well, she was sick with mono too. Oops. Well, let's all pay close attention to the need to be quarantined if necessary to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. And now, how about a word from our scriptures? Let me tell you about an amazing woman in the Bible. I mean, there are a lot of them really, but this gal went by the name of Esther, and she was pretty special. Fact is, there's a whole book about her in the Old Testament. I can't give you all the details here, but she was a Jewish woman living in a place where Jewish people were considered foreigners. The place is called Persia. And her only family there in Persia was an uncle who sort of adopted her. His name was Mordecai. And you know about Mordecai? Well, he was a really good guy, that Mordecai. The king of Persia at the time, well, he was a bit of, how shall I say it? I don't know. A pompous windbag might suffice. He loved to parade around, throwing big parties and all. Pretty arrogant, too. In fact, even his wife couldn't come into his presence unless he gave her, or anybody else for that matter, permission. Needless to say, she didn't last long. I guess you could say he had a thing for imposing his own quarantine on people at will. Anybody who would come into his inner court without being called upon, well, they'd be put to death. That's some serious quarantine, I'd say. Well, anyways, good fortune would have it, Esther gets to become the new queen. To make a long story boring, actually it's a pretty exciting story. Word comes of a vicious plot to wipe out all the Jews who are living in Persia. Did I mention that the king didn't know that Esther was herself a Jew? Well, the king doesn't know about this plot. Mordecai, who I think I said is a really good guy, does know, and he secretly gets word about it to Esther. Now she could decide to say nothing to the king and save her own skin, or she could risk telling and possibly die in doing so. Trying to decide about keeping silent, Mordecai, a good guy, lays this line on Esther. He says to Esther, "Who knows? Perhaps you have come to royal dignity for just such a time as this." Esther called for all of her people to fast and pray for 3 days, and then she went in to see the king. And of no surprise, it saved them all from a most certain fate. One person praying, a bunch of other people praying and fasting too, and all of them doing the right thing made all the difference for a lot of innocent people. Same could be true for us right now. Taking time to pray, even fast to be sure. Then for each one of us to do the right thing. Hard to do, but we need to. We're sort of, you might even say, an army of one, keeping our distance, abiding by the directives from those who know best in the end, and hopefully, when it's all said and done, you and I will play a role in saving others from the further spread of this dreadful disease that we're trying to stop. Well, until next time, thanks for listening. And remember, fear not tomorrow. God's already there. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay faithful, my friends, and Christ be with you.